From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's going on, world? How's everything going today? It's the one and only Pop DBIC, the Primetime Capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. And it is time for the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles. And, man, it is NFL kickoff day today. And we got the Lions and the Chiefs live from Arrowhead in beautiful Kansas City, Missouri, where I was at a few months back for the NFL draft and all that good stuff. And, you know, eating on barbecue and all that stuff that they love in Kansas City. And, you know, pretty much seeing the fanfare for their boy Patrick Mahomes and, you know, Andy Reid and Jason and not Jason, but Travis Kelce. And, you know, just all the usual suspects of Kansas City. And, you know, this team has become more of a household name in the NFL because their success. This team has won the Super Bowl twice in the last 4 years. They've appeared in 3 Super Bowls in the last 4 years. They got everything that you would want in a team on opening day, and they're going to be celebrating another ring here. They're third overall. They're second, and as I already said, they're second in the last 4 years. So, you know, we have a game that is very significant tonight. It's going to be a ceremony before the game, all that good stuff. Going to probably dip into the game for a quick 15 minutes or so. You know, I'm talking about the game time, airtime for the game. And then you have this Detroit team, a team that's been really bad for a really long time. You know what I mean? If you look at the last time Detroit had a really successful season, you'll probably scale it all the way back to, I don't know, 1991? Yeah, whenever they played the Redskins in the conference championship, I would say 1991. And you know what happened? The Redskins absolutely demolished them 38-9. I can never forget that game. And you know, pretty much they've haven't really done much since that point. Even having Barry Sanders, all that good stuff, just nothing ever came to fruition. But over the last few years, they've been able to put some things together. They went and got themselves a player coach as the head coach, a guy who actually played in Detroit as well, too. And it was just a match made perfectly, you know. And what happened? You got rid of your franchise quarterback in Matt Stafford, and you went ahead and you returned a guy that had actually played in the Super Bowl a year before that, Jared Goff. And pretty much you said, you're going to have to show and prove to us that you're deserving of a quarterback spot. And as you guys can see, they still haven't drafted that elusive first round quarterback that everybody was begging them for when they first picked up Goff. So this is a intriguing matchup tonight because you put together a team that is starting to become a very popular team on the surface in the Lions, you know, who's been in mediocrity for a while. But when you go do Hard Knocks and people see exactly how your locker room is and how your team is, people start to tend to have a different respect for you. And that's what's happened with the Detroit Lions. And I totally feel with Jared Goff tonight, him getting Jahmyr Gibbs, having Amon-Ra St. Brown back in the fold with him once again this year as well. There's sky's the limit. You know, he's going to be missing his Jameson, who's going to be out the first 6 weeks because of his gambling issue and everything like that. But you have a lot to look forward to. Kansas City, you know, it's the usual custom. It's the usual bag. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the crew. That's what it is. Chris Jones won't be a part of this game tonight because Chris Jones still waiting on his money. He wants a pay raise. They haven't budged on that situation yet, but it's understandable because the Chiefs are a little strapped right now, and they're not a big market. They're still a mid to small market in the NFL. It doesn't matter how successful they truly are right now. It's always going to be a real struggle to really bring in all the top-notch players and keep your players happy. But I think Chris Jones' situation will be settled within the next week or two, but he won't be playing tonight. So when we get down to the gist of the game, I'm just going to use this example real quick. About 5 years ago, I was at the greatest Monday Night Football game ever at the LA Coliseum. It was between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Rams. At this time, Jared Goff is probably in his second, third year in the NFL and has finally became one of a top 5 passer in the league because he was at that time. And then you have Patrick Mahomes, the Wonder Kid, Andy's boy, Andy's best, the quarterback that's going to bring Andy Reid the winning that he always deserved. And this is going to be a absolute gem of a game, and that's exactly what it was. It wound up being the game of a decade, seriously. And it was absolute must-see TV. But the funny thing about it was I wasn't watching it on TV. I was watching it in the south end zone of the Coliseum. And it was still one of the greatest sporting events I've ever been to and the greatest football game I've ever attended. So I feel like tonight we're going to duplicate that game somewhat, but we're not going to go. I don't think we're going to get the game to go over, but I think that Goff and Mahomes are going to both put on a show. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm picking the Lions to get the big upset tonight. I just feel like the Chiefs are going to come in here on that elusive Super Bowl hangover. Usually it's tough for the Super Bowl team to lose in this game, but I feel like for the Chiefs, they're going to have some issues here because they've just been so good and they've been so highly touted coming into the game. And it's going to be a tough game for Detroit, but Detroit knows that if they can start the season off with a big win like this, they can really believe in being a divisional champion. You know what I mean? Win or lose, it's still going to be a good game regardless for the Lions, but it will mean so much more if the Lions win this game because then it shows that they are building towards a positive situation of winning, and they care about winning. When it comes down to the Chiefs, it's going to be the same old song. Chiefs are going to go out there. They're going to play great offense. They're going to play somewhat good defense. They're going to be very disciplined when it's time to be disciplined, and it's going to be a tough game. And if they go about their business like they usually do, it could be very formful and wind up being a game that is not even watchable. But I truly do feel that this game is going to come down to the final seconds. And I feel like the field goal kicker on either side is going to decide exactly who's going to win this game. Because I just got this feeling we're going to get a lot of great theater here for opening night with the anticipation of the NFL season over the last few weeks. It just seems right that it's going to be an epic game tonight. So, let's move forward and get into our next topic, and that's going to be Chandler Jones. Chandler Jones looks doubtful for Sunday. Will the top pick, Tyree Wilson, be ready for the moment Sunday? Tyree Wilson seems like he's a guy with a very good upside, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And he seems like a guy who's going to be really good for the Raiders moving forward. But I still think that he might be a little green going into this game. He's going to be learning on the job. He didn't actually do too much during preseason. He didn't do too much during training camp because he was still dealing with an injury. Now, he's 100% healed from that injury, all that good stuff. And he did play for a quarter or so against the Cowboys, yeah, the Cowboys. And, he made a nice little move that Brian Baldinger actually highlighted on Twitter after the game, and it seemed like it was a very big-time pro move. He showed this elusive speed that only the great ones truly have. But I don't know if the strength is there the way that you want it to be at this point, because he's still getting into the flow of being an NFL player. So the Raider fans should not expect him to do a lot. But my biggest concern is another distraction in the locker room. It seems like this has become a very, very telling situation with the Raiders. You know, you pissed off Derek Carr last year. You pissed off cornerbacks and other players as well too. You really irritated Josh Jacobs as much as you could this summer, to the point to where he sat out the whole summer and didn't sign up until last week. You know, he easily could have still signed that contract, because the contract was always on the table. The $10 million deal was always on the table. It's just that he thought that they were going to show some love and really put him in a very comfortable situation, but they somewhat met him in the middle. But Chandler Jones wants to win football games. He's at the point of his career where it's not about playing for coaches that you've been playing for your whole career. It's about winning a championship. When he went to Arizona, he had the idea that this team was building towards playing for a championship. That team went to the left, everything went south. He goes to the Raiders. He sees some potential with the Raiders, coming off of a playoff berth, and still having Derek Carr, who was considered a top 10 quarterback going into last season. And you got Josh Jacobs, and then you add in Devontae Adams, one of the top 3 wide receivers. How could you pass up a team like that? Then you look on the other side, you got Max Crosby with you. And then these coaches that the Raiders have to sink their fangs into these great players and start draining them. And that's exactly what I feel they did to Chandler Jones. They were asking him to do more than he needed to do. He's an older player now. He's not a younger player. He can't do the same things he was doing 5-6 years ago in New England. And I felt like they're asking him to do that and some. And that just goes to show how the Raiders have went about their business and actually bringing in interior and outside edge rushers as well too. And so it's a very, very telling situation that the Raiders are in a absolute cluster of right now, because it's just not a good presentation. And I feel like the pressure isn't on the coach. The pressure is more as on the general manager. It's on the owner. And that's what the problem is, because they have to really defend this bad coach to the other powers that be. Because, yeah, everybody talks about Mark Davis and everybody talks about Dave Ziegler. But Mark Davis has a whole group that he has to answer to. Look it up. He's not the owner. He's the controlling partner. And I can tell you right now, those group of men are very frustrated. They're tired of this. They came to Vegas with the idea that the Raiders would be a perennial playoff team each season that they got there. They said they needed a new stadium to have a new outlook on life. And they got their new stadium. And they've actually regressed in that time since they've gotten that new stadium. So the Raiders have a lot that they have to deal with this season. And it doesn't really help them when one of their best players is griping already about not wanting to be there. And there's a reason why he doesn't want to be there. It's because Josh McDaniels is not a good coach. Okay? And then you got guys like Rob Ryan and all these burnouts and has-beens walking up and down the sideline, giving you bad information and not catching up with today's NFL. It's that simple. The Raiders are in for a very long season because nobody likes what's going on there. Nobody wants to be a part of this locker room. Or really, nobody wants to be a part of this coach's team. Really, they don't want him. So hopefully Mark Davis is really evaluating all this very closely and really does think about possibly moving on from McDaniels if the Raiders tend to struggle in the first 8 weeks. I'm talking about like 2-6, 3-5. If the Raiders are under 500, there's no reason to keep going more and more forward with this coach. And I know that it will stagnate exactly what the Raiders are trying to do do as a team to where they want to have stability in the coaching rank. But you know what? This guy was never a good fit as the Raiders coach at the end of the day. The Patriot way is the old way in the NFL. It's not going to work anymore. You had to have certain tools to run that type of mantra. The Raiders are not built for that type of mantra. The Raiders are the rebels of the NFL. And that's what what they need to keep up. I felt like they were still playing like that with a guy like Bisaccia. And then once you brought in McDaniels, he's bringing in every old Patriot there ever has been. And so this is not good team building. This is not good management. This isn't anything that's good at all. So hopefully they get the memo and these guys figure out a way to, maybe tune out all the noise like people like me right now and just perform. Or they can go ahead and they can just do exactly what we kind of feel like they're going to do, is sit up there and play bad until they fire this coach. It's that simple. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. And you know what? You got to keep the faith. And it's week 1, and you just don't want to say, okay, it's just throw the season away. No, it's not a throw the season away situation. It's going to be a evaluation over here for the first 4 weeks to see if McDaniels is truly, truly a good fit, if Jimmy G was a good pickup. It's a lot of things that are going to go into play when it comes to this Raiders scenario. So with that, let's go ahead and move forward to some boxing. And we see that Errol Spence Jr. has activated his rematch clause for a possible fight in late November or early December. This fight will be at 154 as well, too. And it won't be for the undisputed and all the titles and all that good stuff. Because you know what? I think Errol's over that whole situation. He already had 3 belts. You know what I mean? He fought 5 fights, and 3 of them were title fights. So, in 6 fights in the last, 7 years or 5, 6 years. And at the end of the day, the guy won 3 titles in the process. So, he moves forward to 154, a division that he's been kind of chomping at the bit to get to. I think that he would have really loved to have this fight at 154, the first one, but, he wanted to do it at 147 so they could fight for the undisputed and fight for the absolute max revenue of the event as well, too. Because, if it makes the event that much better when you do have a belt. And that's exactly what the deal was for for Bud. And then it made it that much better that Errol had all 3 belts as well, too. And it's funny because Errol had dominated the welterweight division over that stretch, and they still hadn't handed him the Ring Magazine belt. But as soon as Bud Crawford beat him, all of a sudden the ring belt is popped out and is on Bud Crawford's waist. So I think if Spence would have won that night, they would have figured out a way to say, well, he doesn't check off this criteria right here. You know what I mean? And it's just all bullshit at the end of the day. You know what I mean? They play their favorites, and they play like they're not playing their favorites to appease a certain audience and a certain group that really supports them. You know what I mean? They're not worried about the people that halfway support them and criticize them all the time. They're always for the people that totally support them. So what they'll do is they'll throw up a boxer who has no reason being in the top 10 just because they know there's a certain fan base that's going to just drool over that whole situation and give them the engagement and the attention they need. It's all a game at the end of the day, and that's what you guys have to really truly understand. But when you get down to the gist of this fight, this rematch is very much needed. Why would Errol Spence back down? There's no point of backing down, because I'm gonna keep it real with you. If Errol Spence did the same thing to Bud wasn't gonna back down from having a rematch either. That's just the pride of both of these great men, is that they know that they are the best of the best when it comes to boxing right now. And just on that night, Crawford was that much better. I felt like Crawford was able to put his nerves in the right place. He was cool, calm, collective, everything you need to be to win a championship fight like that. I felt like Errol Spence was walking into the fight, as I said the whole time before we even got to the fight. a sense of entitlement somewhat because he's Errol Spence. He's the truth, and he's absolutely dominated everybody who's ever stepped in the ring with him. And, Bud had the same thing, but the way that Errol did it was Errol was such a great technician about it. It was obvious the way that he broke fools down. With Bud, it just seemed like it would be that sparked moment in a fight, and Bud would just put a guy out. And, it was a better presentation somewhat with Errol Spence coming into the fight. You know what I mean? And once we got past the first round, it became Bud Crawford's world. But Bud Crawford was in a zone that night. Sometimes you just can't beat a guy. I remember when I was coaching hoops, we had the best team in the league. I had 2 6'10" guys. And pretty much I thought we were going to walk into that championship game and win by 30 points. We got smoked by 30 points. Why? Because they hit 9 3-pointers in the first half. There's nothing we could do about it. And that's kind of what happened to Errol Spence. Once the fight started going on and Crawford got into his rhythm, there was nothing Errol Spence could do about it. You can't keep coming up with he was trained. Oh, he was this. Oh, look, every boxer who has to cut weight at these 135s, 140, 147s, 150, 54s, 160s, they all get drained out after a fight, rehydrations and all that other good stuff. You don't know how you're going to be because sometimes people overtrain, sometimes people undertrain. But in this situation, everything went the right way for both camps. It's just that one guy got hot during the fight and didn't cool off. That's the whole thing. And it came back to IQs. Errol was a bit cocky coming into the fight, and I'll keep it real. Bud fought like a scared man in the fight, and he won the fight because he fought with the idea that he could lose tonight. Errol fought with the idea that this is about to be another walk in the park, and we finna go over here and have us a nice little party over here at Girl Collection after we get done whooping up on this Nebraska boy. And that was just the overconfidence of a Texan. That's all it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love my Texans. I love their confidence. I love how they go about their business. But you know what? They had a Dallas Cowboys moment. That's all it is. You thought you was going to get to the big game and you thought you was going to do this, that, and the third, and you didn't. It's that simple. It's okay. It happens. But all in all, though, this fight right here, the rematch, it has to happen. It doesn't matter how you feel or what you think. You don't have to watch the second fight. I truly do feel that Errol's going to put on a much better effort. And with them at a bigger weight, it is going to be some issues for Bud Crawford. But Bud Crawford's already a strong guy as is. And he's going to be a monster favorite going into the fight. Hopefully, he does not get the big head before going into this fight. But Errol Spence has been given the toughest task of his boxing life. And that's to come in here and redeem himself from an off night in the first fight. But y'all have to understand the second fight was always going to happen. Even if if the fight was damn near a draw, nobody would even have an issue with this. But since Bud decidedly won the fight, everybody feels like, oh, it's time to walk off from this. No, the amount of hype and the amount of talk that went into this fight, there's no doubt a rematch has to happen. We sat here and talked about it for 5 years. 5 years. And people argued about it for 5 years. People aren't even friends anymore because of this fight. People don't even want to speak about this fight because they guy didn't win. And when he said, I'm going to activate my rematch clause, everybody named Mama was ready to jump in Errol's corner once again. But then you got the bums, the losers. Oh, why would he go back and do that again? He already got it. He didn't learn his lesson the first time. Well, this ain't the streets. This is boxing, and this is prize fighting. And there's a lot of money that's going to be in this next fight. The biggest fights for both of these guys is fighting each other in their next fight. So whoever wants, all the phony matchmakers and all the people who are disappointed in this rematch happening, Sorry for you. That's the business of boxing. And this fight really does meet up with the business of boxing. And when you have two future Hall of Famers, if they say they want to get it on again, we're going to let them get it on again. And that's that. And that's how it's going to be. All right. So let's go ahead and get into another boxing topic. And they just had a press conference today as well, too. And that's going to be Francis Ngannou. Does he have a real shot at shocking the world on 10/28 versus Tyson Fury? Wow. This is a huge fight, but I really, truly feel that a lot of people are underestimating the power of Francis. I know Francis isn't a boxer. I know you haven't seen him in a boxing ring, all that good stuff. But this big dude right here, let's not act like he's never been in a fist fight. Shit, he's been in a bunch of fist fights in MMA. It's just that he doesn't have on 8-ounce gloves. And it seems like he can put you out with one punch. He can really send you to Eaton if he wants to. The upper room type of power. And I know Tyson Fury feels that he's at an advantage because he's Tyson Fury. He has the muscle, he has the memory, the muscle memory to, swing, to throw all night long and throw long, sharp, crisp punches and all that good stuff and do a whole lot of pity patting and things of that nature and kind of beat you into a pulp, right? Just with good boxing technical skills and all that good stuff. But when has Tyson Fury really sat up there and knocked a guy out with one punch to just just to end the night? You've never seen that. In both Wilder fights, he had to beat on Wilder for that time for it to happen. Wilder, and each time Wilder knocked him down, it took one punch to do it. One punch. It didn't take array of punches. It didn't take a volume of punches. It took one damn punch to put him on the ground. Yeah, he got back up. Good for him. But still, Tyson Fury is not the chin of chins. He's a guy that literally, if you can hit him with the right shot, he will sit his ass down. He will get parked. That's the whole thing. And Francis is coming into this fight fearless. He's not worried about his experience. He's not worried about Tyson Fury supposedly being the best heavyweight on the planet, one of the best fighters on the planet. I think he's one of the biggest bullshitters on the planet, to be honest with you. I think he's an absolute fraud because in this situation right here, he knows he's holding up a weight class right now. He's holding up an undisputed situation at heavyweight. So if you're going to do all that, then why don't you just go ahead and give up the green belt? Just give up the WBC belt, and you can do all the fantasy fights and all the Dubai fights and Saudi fights that you want to. This man is a part of a criminal syndicate that has been banned from America, and that's why he can't come out here and fight nobody. That's why he's over here BSing with the belt. And I think since that has occurred, the WBC has all right to go ahead and take the belts from him. Take that belt from him. They didn't mind taking that belt from Leon Spinks when he didn't want to fight Ken Norton Jr. They didn't mind taking that belt from Muhammad Ali when he didn't want to fight his mandatory. They didn't mind taking that belt from Riddick Bowe when he didn't want to fight Lennox Lewis. So why is it that you guys are so adamant about letting Tyson Fury do exactly what he wants with this belt? The man has defended the belt 2 times since he's had it. 3 times possibly since he's had it. And, he won the belt like back in 2020. And so that means that he's fought 3 times in 3 years. And that's absolutely ridiculous. And that's uncalled for. And the WBC is allowing this to happen. So I truly do feel with the way that Tyson Fury has been going about his boxing life, that the reality check and the humbling really does need to come, and it needs to come very soon. And I truly feel now, I was like everybody else, this guy ain't got no chance. This guy ain't got no chance. But knowing the dedication this man has, Francis, and knowing the fact that he's going to be a great student to his trainers who are training him on boxing, such as Mike Tyson, he's going to be all right when he gets there on fight night, because he has the confidence to go toe to toe with Tyson Fury. That's what it's all about, is the confidence, and knowing that if he can go ahead and put one punch on this man's chin, that's the right punch in the right spot. I'm telling you right now, that boy will be getting sent to the upper room. I promise you that. And ain't going to be no Jack Reese to save him this time either. But if he goes in there and doesn't bully up Fury the way that he needs to, then Fury's going to have an absolute exhibition on this guy. But I don't think that he's going to be able to knock him out, though, to be honest with you, because I just think that this brother right here is going to be he's going to be ready for everything that's coming. You know what I mean? Because like he told Tyson today, I might have not have been in a boxing ring like you consistently, but I know how to fight. That's different. You have to know how to fight. And that's what he's bringing to Tyson Fury. This ain't no boxing match. This is a fight. Straight up, this is a fight. And if Francis can go in there and get into a fight, it's anybody's match. But if we mess around and have a boxing match, oh yeah, he's going to lose straight up. So with that, we went a little over. So I got a little into it. So pretty much with that, we're going to go ahead and take our first break. And when I get back, we're going to jump into some Dodger baseball, and we're going to talk some Thursday night baseball as well, too. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, and I'll be right back at you.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we are back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I hope you are feeling the same. So let's go ahead and jump into it. We have ourselves some Dodger baseball to talk about. The Dodgers struggling right now. Dodgers have dropped the last 5 out of 6 games as well, too. Very surprising, but not surprising at the same time, because we are in the month of September. The Dodgers have pretty much taken care of their part to win the West, taking care of their part to be the second seed and everything like that. So the regression is not that much of a surprise, because you have a Braves team that kind of wanted to show off this weekend, and then you have a Marlins team that's playing for the playoffs right now. You know what I mean? Like, the Marlins are a half a game out from the final spot in the playoffs. So they're playing playoff-type baseball. The Dodgers are playing safety ball, to where they're not trying to get anybody hurt. And after having that distraction with Urias, you know that the guys are kind of in a clouded state, because they are being asked questions that they don't have answers to. You know that reporters have to report. So they're always going to ask questions about how do you feel about the Urias situation? Have you talked to him? Have you did this? Have you did that? And it's a bit of a distraction. And then when you think about it, the Dodgers sit there and look up at each other and say, it happened again. We've been able to have the best pitchers in all of baseball. But what has happened in the last few years, we lost one because he couldn't control his way in the bedroom. We lost it. Now we're losing a guy that we gave a second chance to because him and his old lady can't get along. So it's really sad because Julio had a really great story and a really great, movement to get to being pretty much the ace of the Dodgers. So losing him is much bigger than losing Jared Bauer, in my opinion. But the Dodgers can bounce back from that because he worked his way into that spot. Clayton Kershaw been on the team for the last 15 years. He's the ace until he retires. But if we went off of who was the ace for now, who's the top pitcher, was Julio Urias, because, he was there to win that World Series and all that good stuff. But the Dodgers are trying to avoid being swept for the first time in months as they continue to struggle in Miami. And I already said dropping their last 5 out of 6. And this is something that I felt was coming because the Dodgers went 25-25 to end the month. They played excellent baseball. They played dynamite baseball last month. And it was their best month of the season. And then you get to the last day of the month, you have Atlanta come in, and then Sunday happens. So I'm not worried about where they're at right now. If this continues over the next week or two, then that's when we have a bit of a problem. But for now, the Dodgers are doing everything the right way. They're doing everything the way that you're supposed to do it. And I know a lot of people want the Dodgers to run off and win by 20 games and get the first seed and make them comfortable. But you got to understand, when you're chasing that World Series trophy, it ain't never going to be comfortable. It's not comfortable at all. Every day is intense. Every day is you have to be perfect. You have to be right. So at this point right now, this is a good time for the Dodgers to chill, rest, put themselves in a playoff mentality, a playoff mind state, something that they couldn't do last year because they were chasing history. Now this season, they are just chasing a ring. And so pretty much this situation does not bother me as much as it might bother another Dodger fan or a Dodger critic or a Dodger writer or a Dodger blogger, whatever. But it has to be something that wakes them up a bit. I feel like the Dodgers will avoid being swept tonight. Okay. Ryan Pepiot is on the mound, and Ryan Pepiot presents the future of the Dodgers pitching staff, right? And one exits, one enters. And that's how you have to look at it with Urias and Pepiot. Okay. And Pepiot's making another appearance tonight. He's going to be the starter. He did well first time out. Hopefully he duplicates that same effort tonight so he can keep building that confidence so we can have a new secret weapon going into the playoffs that these teams aren't aware of yet. So that is my 2 cents on the next possible moves for the Dodgers. And we try to win this game tonight. But from what I can see here, when I look at the schedule, the Dodgers do have a nice 3-game situation in DC this weekend. So hopefully they don't get too distracted or up there hanging out in Chocolate City too much, Mookie, Jay Hay, so hopefully they just go about their business because it seems like they've probably been having a little bit too much fun in Miami. You know what I mean? Because I'm telling you, man, you get South Beach, get a little time out. But I know it's tough to do that because you guys got to understand Marlins Park is nowhere near South Beach. So that would be kind of a hard situation to do if they're trying to be out there every day. But we know Miami is one of the funnest cities for these athletes to be in. They got these beautiful hotels for them to stay at, all that good stuff, and all that great all those great restaurants that are pretty much clubs in a restaurant. So it's a lot of fun in Miami. I guess I'm missing the place. I should be making some plans to be out there fairly soon. But yeah, man, Miami is has not been nice to the Dodgers at all, but they are getting some get back because they came out to LA and got absolutely crushed for 3 games straight. So, they're just getting some get back going, but I still think the Dodgers do win this series, not win the series, but win this game tonight, because at the end of the day, the Marlins are chasing a playoff spot. The Dodgers are already settled in. It makes total sense why they went really hard in the series as well, too, and why the Dodgers have kind of regressed a little bit, because it's not that big of a deal right now to win games. But it is a big deal to keep your confidence and your momentum in a very high place, because that's what happened last year. The Dodgers' confidence just started lacking in the final weeks of the season, and it bit them in the butt at the end. So hopefully they can avoid that as they move towards another playoff appearance, and hopefully get themselves to the NLCS to set them up for a World Series. But you don't want to think that far ahead. It's all about today's game, and that's going to be it for the Blue Crew Daily. So let's go ahead and talk about MLB Thursday night. We got a very low schedule because it's the opening of the NFL tonight, and you get 6 games in the MLB tonight, okay? So you don't get a lot of action tonight in that regard. And you only get 3 teams that are starting a brand new series tonight. And then you have 3 teams finishing up their series tonight, because you have some teams that played 4 games this week, and you have some teams that started their series on Tuesday. Most of the teams that have been playing all week this week against each other, they started their series on Tuesday. So tonight we have ourselves a possible playoff matchup, and the Mariners and the Rays. The Mariners coming into the game 78-61. The Rays are 85-55. The Rays at one point were the best team in all of baseball, and ever since going 13-0, they've went 72-55. So they still have a winning record somewhat. They still 17 games over 500, but they are a different type of team without that 13-0 start to the season. And it was incredible. It was historic. A lot of people were very high on the Devil Rays and were like, these guys can win the World Series this year. And I told myself, no, what happened is we used the horse racing analogy, and they broke from the gate smoothly, and they got off to a smooth start compared to everybody else. And then the Orioles, who were already a team that was ascending to be a very good team this year, but a team that we all felt that was still a year or two away from being the top team in the AL East. Well, a year or two arrived this season, and they are the best team in the American League, and they have the best record in the American League, and they pretty much have taken over the East and have been the kingpin of the East for the last 2 months. That was absolutely incredible. And all this happened from having a series with the Rays, 2 series with the Rays over a 2-3 week stretch, and winning both of those series. So it goes to show you where teams are at in the AL East. You got the Yankees and the Red Sox trying to buy everybody, and then you have the Rays and the Orioles building everybody, and then you have the Jays somewhere in the middle of that. But it's been a really good year for the Rays, regardless of anything, even though they've been a lot more average since that 13-0 start. But that's all they needed. You know what I mean? You needed to have a great start so you could put yourself ahead of the game, because you're going to have those months where you hit the wall. And for them, they've still been consistently on the tails of the Orioles. So the AL East is not out of reach, and that would still be a monster accomplishment for this team to actually complete the job, because it is going to be somewhat of a head scratcher if a team who started off with a monster record to start the season doesn't actually win this division. But it is what it is. Mariners coming into this game, they're trying to keep themselves afloat, trying to keep themselves in this playoff race without issues, and try to get themselves back into the leaderboard of the AL West. They found themselves as the leader in the clubhouse for the last 2 weeks, but now they are a game behind Houston, who is absolutely wrecking the Rangers right now and have put themselves 3 games ahead of them. So you have the Mariners, who are sitting right behind Tampa Bay, and they're actually 6.5 games behind them as well too. But they're going to have to fare pretty well in this series. They're going to have to really get a split here, because you have a Toronto team that's only a game and a half behind them, and then you also have a Texas team that's 2 games behind them as well too. And just for, purposes, because they're not out the playoffs yet, the Red Sox are 5 games behind, all right, from the final spot. So it's starting to turn into kind of an intense race here in the AL, especially in the AL West. So it's going to be a lot of fun moving forward. And tonight's game, the way that I'm going with this one is going to be like this. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take the under 8.5 here, because I feel like the 2 pitchers you have on the mound tonight present a game that's going to go under. You know what I mean? They just got the under look to them. You got Luis Castillo, who's been pitching, who got pretty banged up last time, but before that, he gave up no runs, and then before that, he gave up 1 run. So he's been pretty good in his last 5, to be exact. He's had 2 rough outings, but other than that, he's been good. You know what I mean? He's been able to get 20 strikeouts in these 5 games. He's been able to only give up 10 runs in these 5 games as well too. So there's a lot that you can say good things about when it comes to Luis Castillo moving forward. So tonight, I like the under in this spot. Zach Zittel is a guy that is a short-range pitcher. Not short-range in the sense where he's only going an inning, but most times you're never going to have this guy go more than 6 innings. So you have to prepare yourself for that. But I feel like tonight, everybody's going to be in sync, because this is a playoff-type atmosphere to it. So with that, let's move forward and get into our next game, which is going to be the Diamondbacks and the Cubbies. The Diamondbacks and the Cubbies are coming into this one. Both of them are chasing those elusive playoff spots right now. You have to give the Rays their props, because the Diamondbacks their props, because the Diamondbacks were seen as a team that was out of it. They were done. They were cooked. And then all of a sudden, they just went off in the month of August. And it really happened on the 19th of August, when they wound up winning 6 games in a row. Even though they lost the last 4 out of 5 games for the month, that was still good enough for them right there to win those 6 games in a row. And then pretty much going to the final part of the month. And, they got a little shellacked, but it was the Dodgers. Come on. The Dodgers are killers. But the best part about that was because they started off the month actually on a 9-game losing streak. So Arizona has been able to right their wrongs, bring their team back into fruition all season long. They've had points where they really struggled, and then they've had points where they've been really successful. They haven't been able to find a level of consistency, but that's not always a bad thing, especially when you're able to chase a playoff spot. So when you look at the Diamondbacks, you have a team that's prepared to go about games in any type of scenario. And they seem to be a team that can be very clutch as well, too. And that youth movement that they got going on in Arizona is something that's incredible. And now when it comes down to these Cubs, me and Ray talked about the Cubs the other day. The Cubs are playing some, I would like to say bad news Bears baseball, where you looked so bad when you started the season and nobody really cared about you. Nobody was really giving you a chance till you guys had that one crazy game, and everybody now all of a sudden we are winning baseball games and we're kicking butt and we're having fun doing it. So Chicago sits in the second playoff spot right now. Arizona is a half game behind Miami. You see what I'm saying? Miami has worked themselves back into the playoff mix by beating the Dodgers twice in a row. So the Cubs are trying to hold off Cincinnati, but Cincinnati's still 3 games behind them as well too. And they really do need to try to hold off Arizona, but they have a 3.5 game lead on Zona. So if Zona was to win tonight, Miami loses, then Zona jumps back into the mix. Okay. So this is a very important series this weekend because the Cubs have to stay on the gas and the Diamondbacks have to stay in the race because the Diamondbacks can put themselves further behind if something like a sweep happens. And they want to avoid all of that. So if they came out with a split, that wouldn't be the worst scenario because Arizona can still possibly be in the playoffs by the end of the weekend. But this is a very important series. Lots of eyes are going to be on this series as well, too, because it has to do with who's making the playoffs this year. So with this game, I really do like the over 8.5 with the Diamondbacks and the Cubs tonight. I think that we're going to be hitting some more. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. But this should be a really, really good game at the old confines of Wrigley Field. All right, let's go ahead and move forward to our next one. And our next game is going to be this. It's going to be the Guardians tonight going against the Angels over at the Big A down the way over in Orange County in the beautiful city of Anaheim. So a lot of people have to know if you ask me exactly where Angel Stadium is at, Angel Stadium is nothing but around the corner from Disneyland. So just know everything that's major in Anaheim is going to all be in the same area, and everything that's for the people services and community and stuff, it's all going to be on a street called Brickhurst. I'm very well versed in Anaheim. I had worked out there about 13 years ago. So pretty much, bringing back memories and everything like that. But the Angels stadium experience is far different from the Dodgers experience. And I say this because this takes me back to a game that I went to with my parents and my brother. And it was a Sunday night baseball game. And it was the Indians when they were one of the best teams in baseball. It was about 97. And then you had the Angels, who were the Angels at the time. Angels were playing pretty good baseball as well, too. And this was the first ever baseball game or first ever sporting event where I saw a superior moment happen. I saw 4 home runs in a row get hit by the Indians. That was absolutely nuts. It was it started off with, I think it was Omar Vizquel who hit the first one. Carlos Baeger hit one. Then Jim Thome hit a home run. And then Sandy Alomar finished it off. And Sandy probably hit the furthest one as well, too. So I just wanted to talk about that real quick. A quick little memory that I had with the old Indians and the Angels back in the 90s, 20-some odd years ago. So, yeah, that was a fun night. So you guys might want to look that one up. That was a actual Sunday night baseball game on ESPN. That was my first ever Angels game as well, too, because I was always going to Dodger games and things like that. But my parents are from Northeast Ohio. My father is from Cleveland. My mother's from Canton. So, they grew up as Indians fans. And at that moment in time, the Indians were the only baseball team in our house, because the Dodgers, the Angels was just pure stankness. You know what I mean? And come on, who wasn't rooting for the Indians at that point? Major League played a big part in everybody becoming semi-Indians fans for a good decade as well, too. But when it comes down to this great game tonight to start this series, you know that the Guardians are still chasing the Twins, and you know the Angels are pretty much out of it. Shotani's going to be having surgery on his arm, and he said that he still wants to pitch. But, he's not going to push it for next year if they tell him he can't push it for next year. So I kind of think that he is on his way out. I tried to hold faith that he would stick around, but I think that's going to probably not happen. So in this game, let me get to the game. in this game tonight, I like the Guardians to win this game by 2 or more runs. I just feel like the Angels have thrown up the white flag and they're preparing themselves for Cancun and for Tahiti and for South Beach, wherever the hell they're going to go this summer, or I mean this winter. It doesn't matter. They really all need to go back to Arizona and go work on the basics of baseball. That's what they truly need to do. But all in all, I got the Guardians winning this game by 2 or more runs, and we're getting plus 140 if they can go ahead and pull that bad boy off as well too. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take our final break. And when I get back, we're going to jump into Talking Tickets. So you guys stay tuned. This is the Premier Sports Betting Show, the Primetime Angles with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash, and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, we're back with the Premier Sports Betting Show, the Primetime Angles with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. So let's go ahead and get into your favorite subject, my favorite subject, and that is Talking Tickets. And pretty much on Talking Tickets today, this is where we're going. Up first, we got the WNBA, and we got one game in the WNBA tonight. That's going to be between the Sparks and the Liberty. And as you guys know, this was the first ever game for the league 26 years ago. I remember because I was sitting in my boy's living room with his mother and his sister, and I was like, yeah, man, the woman is playing, and this is a historic moment and all that stuff. And don't get mad at me, ladies. Don't get mad at me, WNBA fans, but we did fall asleep by the fourth quarter. And Lisa Leslie, Rebecca Lobo was playing as well, too. But I will always remember that being the first ever game at the Old Forum. It wasn't at Staples. It was at the Old Forum. The WNBA Thursday night bets. I'm taking the Sparks tonight with the 6-1. I'm just feeling a little froggy tonight, so I'm going to take them with the 6-1. I like the Sparks with the plus 7.5 first half as well, too. And then I like the first quarter bet over 41 as well. I feel like Sabrina and the girls are going to be bringing some points with them, while you got De'Erica and the girls bringing some points with them. So we'll get the over 41. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right, we have the MLB Thursday night 20-1 ticket. Yeah, it's a hefty one. So pretty much we got the under 8.5 with the Mariners and the Rays. We got the Tigers plus 140. We got the over 8.5 with the Diamondbacks and the Cubs. And then we have the Guardians minus 1.5, and it's going to be a plus 145, and it's a 20-1 ticket. So that's a pretty good value for a pick four. It truly is. And let's get to our final ticket group. And I know this one is the one that the world's been waiting for. Our NFL kickoff bets, our first official bets of the year for Thursday night football. We got the Lions pulling off the monster upset tonight on national television, on NBC, in front of Chris Collinsworth, the biggest Mahomes fans that there is. And I like the Lions tonight with the plus 195. So Detroit, I hope you rocking with me tonight, baby. All right. And we got plus 3 with the Lions first half. And then we got the over 10 first quarter. And then we also have the plus 2.5, plus 140 alternate line. So I'm not taking the minus on them because they wouldn't let me get it. I was trying to get the -1.5, -2.5 on the line so I could get a big number. But I'll take the +140 alternate line and take a possible 2-point loss to cash that ticket. But we want the win because we want that +195. And then I got Detroit scoring 24 points or better tonight. I don't care. No Chris Jones tonight. Juan Thornhill is now with the Browns. Those corners are always suspect each game. You just don't know what that Kansas City defense is going to do tonight, because they got some leaders missing. And then I like the Lions to be the first to 10 points tonight as well, too, with the +120. So there it is. And that's going to be talking tickets for tonight. So thank you guys so much for watching the show today. You guys are the absolute best as always. And you know what? I'll be back tomorrow with some more to talk about. We got some big time college football games to get into tomorrow. We also have some NBA, not NBA, but we got some more MLB to talk about. We got series bets to go over as well too, and the big matchups for this weekend. And then also, once again, we got talking tickets again. And I will go ahead and do you guys the favor. I will put my fresh new program out for this year in the NFL. It's going to be my NFL Super High Five Weekly. So it's going to be my 5 best bets of the week, and it's going to be all either spread or money line. Okay, so pretty much I'm trying to decide if it's going to be spread or money line, because I kind of want to keep it in one facet. But I think that if we do spread, it might be a little bit better, because that's what a lot of people play off of, right? So we'll see. But make sure that you're all in on that bad boy. And hey, it is what it is at the end of the day. And this is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper. And as I always say, bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving, and I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.